Hello, everyone, and welcome to the On Air podcast with your hosts, Stephen Hudson, Paul O'Flaherty, and David Gall. The On Air podcast is the official podcast for Geek Dimensions and everyone living a geek's life. Hello, everybody. It's Geek Dimensions podcast back for another week after being away for a couple weeks. We apologize. I'm Stephen Hudson, your host, along with David Gall in Alabama and Paul O'Flaherty in Alabama. Different ends of the country. Different ends of the state. I know. But Paul, I gotta say, and David and I were talking. Yeah. Pop your Coke. We were talking about, you went to get that, about the sweet-looking setup you are working out of right now, that any geek that was involved with video, including porn, would love to have their
pornography.
Yeah, would love to get their hands on. Like, what are you doing there?
Masturbating furiously? No. No, for a lot of my clients, what we do is instead of, outsourcing to media companies and that sort of stuff, we try and do their media stuff in-house. So if they want to have infomercials, any sort of videos like that, even just interviews or, sort of get to know me videos for their staff on their profiles so that, patients can come in and feel like they've actually have an idea who they're dealing with in advance. So we do all that sort of stuff in here. And, so we've got a nice green screen setup. We've got a nice professional video camera, tons of other cameras hanging about the place, full audio setup as well. A couple of nice mixers, a bunch of nice microphones. It's just easier to do it all in-house rather than... For what you would spend to put together something like this, it works out like 5 times cheaper hiring.
Which really isn't a whole lot. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get a decent sound or video.
What you guys can see here, everything from the professional Canon camera, the green screen, the lights. There's a couple of GoPros in here. There's tons of good mics, including a fully spec'd out 27-inch iMac. And you put this whole studio together for less than 10 grand.
Yeah. Now, is this at your house or is this somewhere?
No, this is at my office.
Office, okay.
I've moved. I will no longer be doing it from doing the show from my house.
Gotcha.
Okay. So,
but the question.
The reason why is, don't steal my thunder, Hudson.
I'm sorry.
The reason why is we're having another baby, so we need a room.
But now the question that David and I had also is, how much did you pay for that hooker chair?
The hooker chair?
Yeah, the white one.
Big, tall, white chair behind. That's one of a set. I just swiped it when nobody was looking and brought it upstairs.
Nice. Okay. Now, one of the stories we have had, you and I actually both picked this one, Paul, and you apparently are really excited about this, but Amazon's bringing the Tick back.
The Tick! A Blue Avenger! Oh, man. Look, if there was any role in the universe that Patrick Warburton was born to play, it was the Tick. They did a 2001 short series. It was dreadful. So bloody dreadful, it was awesome. And you have to go watch it. Most of the episodes are up on YouTube. Just go watch it. Go watch the Tick. It's got the Tick and Mothman and Batman. Well, I mean, what more do you want? It's awesome. And they're bringing it back. And not only are they bringing it back, but they're bringing it back with Patrick Warburton as the Tick again. I mean,
nice.
You cannot go wrong.
The geriatric version.
He's not that much old. He's not that.
But I saw this one.
I mean, he's not that old. I mean, if Wesley Snipes can come back and be Blade again.
Oh, God. Don't even go down that road.
It's awful.
Here's the thing. There's been some, you got Amazon doing this type of thing with the Tick. And I found out today that Netflix has bought the first season replaying rights for Gotham at $1.75 million per episode.
Damn.
And they, Gotham hasn't even hit the airwaves yet, but they've already ponied up to buy the rights for it. to once it finishes its season's run on Fox, I think it is, they get the replay rights for it.
Well, clearly they think somebody's going to watch it.
Yeah, or at least they hope somebody's going to watch it. That's for sure. Although Netflix is good, I'll give them credit because their promo machine is incredible. And they plug the shit out of Netflix originals. And as soon as you go on Netflix and you're watching something, chances are you're going to see a plug for BoJack or Orange is the New Black or something that's Netflix show. So people are going to watch it because they'll cram it down your throat until you get pissed off enough to click on it.
Speaking of awesome TV, he says, pointing at his tit.
Doctor Who, of course.
Have we watched the first two episodes?
No. You're the only Doctor Whovian here.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, Whovians.
Do they live in Whoville?
Oh my God. First episode, crazy regeneration story, not the usual take on it. The Doctor is back. He is cranky, he is old, he is pissed off, he doesn't take no shit from nobody, not even from his companion, who he abuses constantly. He is old and he is rude, and it is wonderful. Watch episode 2 and you'll understand what I mean.
All right, so this is what, series like 7 or 8 or 9? What the hell are we?
Season 8 of New Who.
Is New Who where you should start if
you've not watched Doctor Who before, then yes, you start with New Who, which is 2005, first episode. The first Doctor you'll be watching is Christopher Eccleston, who lasts one season, and then you go on to David Tennant, who is without doubt the greatest Doctor of all time, and then it goes on to the walking zombie child, Matt Smith, who should never have had the job, and then Peter Capaldi, who is 2 episodes in, shaping up to be excellent, even if the opening episode was weak. He was awesome.
Okay, weak. What's this idea of a 24-hour game trial for Xbox One?
Microsoft's going to figure out how to let everybody play the games for nothing and never make any money.
But see, most of your time in this 24 hours is going to be spent downloading shit. So
you're right. Can you imagine?
I mean, how much gameplay could you possibly get in?
Well, if you're a normal human being and not that much of a gamer, a couple hours?
Well, is it 24 hours from initiating the purchase or the trial, or is it 24 hours from when it downloads and you actually start playing?
I guarantee you it's not 24 hours of in-game time. Nobody does that, especially not Microsoft.
Yeah, but
24 hours of in-game time is more than enough time to beat the campaign on most everything out there.
Yeah. It's got to be just a basic from the time you download it and it's on your machine. You have 24 hours to do something with it other than...
I like it, though. No, I definitely like the idea of the demo, which is pretty much what this is, except it's not just like one level. They're actually allowing you to play the entire game, including multiplayer content, which I wish Steam would do. I would kill for 24 hours to try out some of these games before I buy them.
Well, given that Microsoft's doing this for Xbox One, do you think that... And it's like Steam is no coward to trying different things. Do you think they might actually try something similar?
Not a hope in hell. And here's why. Because Steam games are so easily hacked and ripped that if they're going to allow you to download all the content in order to play, and then all somebody has to do is get on their favorite torrent site and download a small crack, that's, while still technically possible on the consoles, it requires a completely different level of tech-savvy individual.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, that is the elite of the modding crew on Xbox. The guys who could do that stuff, I give them props.
But yeah, that's the big problem that Steam has on the PC, which is that it's too easy to crack things. So
it's too easy for them to sell games, because games on Steam are, by comparison to Xbox, cheap. They are cheap as hell. Unless it's a brand new title, chances are you can pick that thing up on sale after just a few months of it being out. So I don't know. I don't really see them adopting anything like this. I wish they would. And they're trying to push demos, and they have a whole demo section, but it just hasn't really caught on.
Well, okay. And actually, this follow-up on, and totally right across out in left field, is something Paul and I have talked about in the past, and you mentioned is an old story, David. Keurig is claiming that their DRM version of the machine has been cracked.
Good.
Did you say that would happen?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Isn't it a good thing that it's happened?
I mean, because how advanced could their DRM really be?
Here's the thing. DRM on a coffee machine? Is this what that, like, what the fuck? Really?
I mean, what they want is those little containers. They don't want other people making their own version of the containers. But, I mean, if your DRM was cracked, why would you do a press release saying your DRM was cracked? Wouldn't you want to keep that on the down low?
Kind of.
Yeah, because this article totally plugs the third-party manufacturers. Real Cup, I mean, and Mother Parker's Tea. All these people are getting plugs from their press release.
Like, they were obviously going after the old, printer inkjet philosophy of, sell the printer real cheap and make your money on the ink.
Yeah, because the printer's not cheap. This coffee machine is
wait a second.
How many few $100?
Well, yeah, true enough. Like your coffee, like what is it?
The difference between printer ink and coffee is that printer ink is the most expensive liquid on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's insane. It really is. But I don't know. I still like my coffee machine. I like this 1 cup nonsense. Like, do either of you use one?
1 cup is for pussies. If you're not a coffee if you're not drinking your coffee by the pot,
yes,
not a man.
Exactly. So I take it, Paul, you do not have a Keurig machine.
You. This thermos that I fill with coffee every morning, and it comes to work with me. And this is, my wife had to go and buy me a coffee maker that was capable of filling. Most coffee makers are a full 2 cups, too small in capacity to fill this.
That looks like it's a construction job.
This is my baby. This is how I drink my coffee.
Just stick a straw in it.
Bloody torpedo.
It really is.
While we're on the subject of DRM and Steam, yeah. Mm-hmm. While we're circling around this whole Steam thing, David, you and I both liked this game when Dizzy first started playing it, and that's the Stomping Land.
Yes.
Apparently, it's been pulled from Steam.
It has, and there are a couple theories. So there's one theory that it was announced previously, like a month ago or so, that they were moving to Unreal Engine 4, which would make sense because that comes with some pretty sizable benefits, enough to probably redo a game that's this early in development. Although there hasn't been a whole lot of word from the devs as to exactly why it's been pulled from Steam, but that currently is the theory. The other theory, of course, would be that the game is dead, which wouldn't make sense that they would. It doesn't really follow. If they were going to announce a move to Unreal Engine 4 and then kill the project, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but there's been a whole problem of communication from the devs themselves almost since the time it hit Kickstarter. They say one thing in a series of posts, and then they go on to being totally quiet, and then they say something, and then they're totally quiet, and it just
shows.
Kickstarter. They're not professionals at running a business and communicating. They may be good at coding and maybe very, very good at making games, but that's why they're on Kickstarter.
Exactly. I very much agree with that.
You can't expect business standards from Kickstarters.
Exactly. And these people, it's exactly how they act and how they talk and how they write their posts. It sounds like a bunch of devs trying to do way too much, because the game itself is very solid and it was a great foundation. I mean, I have very, very good memories of playing that game and put in a good couple days worth of game time, and there's still room to play. It just needed more content and more time. So I hope this game doesn't go anywhere. I really do, because it is awesome.
Yeah, it is good. I played it a couple times just locally on by myself, and yeah, it has potential. Whether that potential will actually something we'll see in the end, I don't know. What do you think of the chances of it actually showing back up on Steam? Like
Very high. I do have faith because one of their PR guys apparently was fired, and so it would follow that their PR has been a little lax recently. But I definitely believe that they're moving it to Unreal 4, and I hope that that's a successful thing. I hope that is a successful move, and I think that we'll probably see this game on Steam again.
I hope so. I do. I don't know. I hate seeing things like that, especially when they're like, it's one thing for Rust, okay? That's a joke. I'm sorry, but it is. Star Citizen, again, is a joke. People have invested hundreds and thousands of dollars into this game, and we still don't have a finished product. So, you kind of understand what.
That's why these people are in Kickstarters and not running actual businesses. They do not have the process down. You see it whether or not you're doing video games or you're manufacturing electronics. It's great to have an idea. It's great to have the skill to maybe come up with a product. But where so many of these Kickstarters get left down is business development, is process management, is having, the ability to actually line up manufacturers to produce what they need and to scale and to go to production. That's where all these things fall apart. I think anybody who does a Kickstarter to make something like this, to make anything, once you get over 100K, the first thing you should be doing is trying to find yourself somebody to run the business who actually understands this stuff, and then go focus on your product.
Yeah, and I didn't have a whole lot of work. I mean, 100K in game dev is not really a whole lot of cash to do it. And the guy was just a developer on I think, was it Skyrim and Dungeon Defenders, a couple of those games, but he was just a normal, just a dev, no business experience that we know of, at least, so it would follow.
All right. I got one subject here. I want you guys' feelings, and thoughts on this. The whole ice bucket challenge and its effect on the web. Is it, like, I think it's actually just become pointless now. I really do. I just don't. I've seen too many people that have been putting on their Facebook, we did the ice bucket challenge, but that's all we did.
So in other words, what you're saying is you're bored with it.
I was bored with it the day after it happened.
Yeah, but you're a so fart.
I don't know. There's only so much gimmick. Like, I got bored with it when I saw that people were doing, like, the Charlie Sheen approach, where it's like, I'm so clever and I'm not going to pour ice water on me. I'm going to pour money, or I'm going to pour bullets on me. And then when I started seeing those, I was like,
Look, here, no matter how you look at it, this thing has raised over $100 million for ALS research, for Lou Gehrig's disease. And that is a good thing. And people are having a bit of fun doing it. It's like any other meme, any other craze. It'll have its time, it'll have its day, and it'll pass on. ALS is not the first charity to do this. And the reason you're seeing so many of these things on Facebook is because it's not just people doing it for the ALS charity. There's people in other countries doing it, and even within the US doing it for lots of other charities as well. ALS wasn't the first to do the Ice Bucket Challenge, and they most certainly won't be the last, but it's pulling in massive money. And so what? We get to watch people make fun of themselves, drop a bit of water on themselves. It's in good fun. You know what I mean? If you don't like it in your Facebook stream, just click on the right-hand side of it and say no more posts like this. You know what I mean?
All right, so how about this? So I got just to get you guys' thoughts on this. So ischemic heart disease is by far the biggest killer of humans on the planet. And there's not a whole lot of research dollars that goes into trying to prevent this or come up with any kind of alternative treatment or any kind of anything. And it seems like that we pour a lot of money into things that, while are bad and do kill people, aren't necessarily the biggest killers. The main culprit of this is breast cancer. Breast cancer is a big deal, but in the scheme of things, it really doesn't kill as many people as a lot of these other diseases that get hardly any funding. So is this a legitimate use of money to put towards something that is very low on the totem pole in terms of human deaths?
Now you're touching on a pet topic of mine, which is that, yeah, we spend vast amounts of money every year on research that could be better pooled. I mean, if you consider it, how much better off would we be taking all of the money that is donated to sort of medical research and saying, okay, well, this year, these 3 particular causes are getting all of the money. And boom, problem solved, move on to the next thing. It could be a large, I mean, if you had all of these scientists and all of these doctors working on the one problem coherently, actually sharing information with each other, actually sharing data, not keeping their research behind closed doors and, behind publications that you have to pay for in order to get any sort of access to. We had an open sharing of information. The amount of progress that we could make would be phenomenal, I think. And we could really, really hammer things out. And while we're at it, let's stop looking for cures for things. And let's start looking for preventative measures for things. I don't want to cure cancer. I want to make sure nobody ever gets it in the first place.
Yeah, but see, the problem is there's too much money to be made in finding the cure.
There's too much money to be made in the cure. Look, there's money to be made in finding the cure, and there's money to be made in having a cure. There's no money to be made in prevention, because what do you do when nobody has it, right? Yeah. But I mean, if we're going to be honest about things, we're going to start putting money where it belongs, and that's what we need to be doing. We need to be preventing, not curing.
Well, to go from the totally serious to the totally absurd, and the other big meme that happened this past week, the fattening.
That's not
is that a meme? I don't think that's a meme.
I think it is. It is now. No, that's what they are. The fattening is
It's got a catchy nickname.
It does. It's one of the greatest. It has to be one of the greatest gross invasions of privacy that we've had in any kind of recent time. It's just awesome. And I don't know how bad you guys feel for these celebs. I don't really feel too bad, considering they're all attractive women making more money than I'll probably ever see in my lifetime. I don't know how bad I feel, but the method, supposed method that they use, that iBrute, I don't know if you guys have really taken a look at that and how it basically just brute forces a Find My iPhone password, because apparently Apple, I don't know if they slipped or just forgot to, incorporate any kind of brute force protection, which would probably be, if I had to say what is the most obvious means of, quote, hacking or cracking into something, a brute force is probably the most obvious approach. Well, and to not have any kind of protection against that for iCloud via Find My iPhone's back door seems kind of silly, but it's been patched now.
But Apple already came out and said that was not their responsibility. The iCloud, it was not through them. Apple's already come out and said we got no part of this.
Of course, Apple would say that, but it's clear that these were photos that were supposedly backed up on it. I mean, I don't know. Who can you believe? Do you believe the hacker? I mean,
or Apple? If you're CNN, there's only one hacker, and that's 4chan.
Mr. 4, last name Chan.
I think out of all of that has to be the funniest part. It really does. The fact that, a major journalistic endeavor, and they come out with 4chan as the person.
4chan is essentially, look, 4chan is just a bulletin board, and that's just where they dump them.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with 4chan.
No.
4chan didn't hack it. 4chan had nothing to do with this.
No.
The sad thing, if you want to take it that way, is perhaps not the hacking, but that 4chan, one of the last bastions of true internet free speech, is now going to be subjected to DMCA.
Exactly. That's what pisses me off about this the most, is because 4chan has now become something that has now been on CNN, not just anonymous. Usually the scapegoat for any kind of hacking would be anonymous, but now 4chan's actually been pointed out by name, and as a unashamed 4chan surfer for many, many years, I could say that the website is noticeably slower since this has happened. They are getting absolutely swamped which is probably not a good thing.
And just wait for it too. Wait for all the misassociations that are made in the media, where they're going to like run with each other's stories, and it's going to be like, well, 4chan hacked. And, 4chan is going to start building a reputation undeservedly as an entity that it is not.
Which really draws attention from the legal types that I would rather not be on 4chan. That's kind of the unfortunate consequence of this, among many others, is the fact that, because while 4chan was most likely already monitored by feds, there's been many posts about that, many security breaches that have led to those. And for good reason, they want to monitor 4chan, but I think now it's only going to get even worse.
Well, okay, with the fact that the FBI is now going to be investigating this breach, as they're calling it, is that really a good use of our law enforcement?
No, these people just shouldn't back up nudes to iCloud. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, here's the thing. Should the person, if it is one person who managed to pull this off, is he or she criminally liable? Should they go to jail? Should they be found guilty? Like
under U.S. law, brute forcing their way into another network, yeah, that's criminal.
That's kind of bad as far as NetSec goes.
It's criminal as it gets.
Okay.
Vienna. Also, the dissemination of these images, which they do not hold either copyright or ownership of, is criminal.
But the celebrities themselves didn't take these photos of themselves. Most of them. Some of them were selfies, but wouldn't the actual owner of the photo be the person who took the photo? I don't know how that works, but anyway.
It really doesn't matter. The person spreading the photos still didn't.
No, and supposedly it's this ring. Okay, so the talk has been, and take all of this with a grain of salt, or many grains, is that there's even more anonymous-oriented like 4chan-like website called AnonIB that these were all originally posted on. And the word is that it's kind of a ring of people who have been cracking into celeb phones and accounts to score these pictures and videos of them. And they kind of trade them amongst themselves, using the photos themselves or videos as currency to trade for other photos. So I strongly believe this is not just one person that has done this.
No,
it's
but
definitely
it's that aggregated a lot of them.
Yeah, and probably one person who ended up releasing them, and then that it would follow that then that would spur others to release them because now their photos have been kind of devalued because they're public. So I don't know. I definitely think this is a team of people that managed to break into all of these different celebrities. There's a lot of investigation and a lot of legal action to be taken if they actually want to pursue that route.
But I think this is sort of an eye-opener for a lot of people in the sense that, we've all been saying for years that if you post it to the internet, don't expect it to be secure no matter what.
It's there forever.
If you're going to use a cloud backup service, well, that's no more secure than anywhere else. And in fact, those kind of services are automatically going to be a larger target because people are backing up important shit to them. So you really have to sort of just be aware of where and what you're backing up. So, while it might be fun and easy and all just to have your phone automatically back up to your iCloud or your, Google Plus Photos or Picasa or whatever the hell it is, depending on your operating system that you're using, you might also want to think that, I just posted a nude of myself and I'm famous. And maybe I should not store that one in the cloud and just delete it or just, save it locally or something. Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of information. I'm taking the perspective of just a new user, my mother or grandmother, somebody who's not very tech savvy. They say you just install Dropbox. You plug in your phone or even just install it on your iPhone. It instantly asks you, do you want to put all your photos on there? And they're like, sure, hit OK. And then before you know it, like your entire photo library has been copied and backed up on a cloud that you didn't quite understand what was going to happen when you click that. You think, well, does that back up my photos from this point on? Or it's not very clear, really, which goes into privacy education, of which there's none. But people don't really understand what they're putting on the cloud, what they're backing up, what is secure, what isn't. how to keep a Dropbox secure. I mean, that's
in an ideal world. After every time you take a photo, when you've got a service like that, it would ask you, "Do you want to back up this photo to our ostensibly secure internet service?" Although there's a good chance we'll get hacked.
It's secure now.
It's secure.
No one's hacked into it yet.
Okay. Nobody's hacked into us unless.
Here's a question. If, let's say for sake of argument, iCloud is where all these things were pulled from, and it turns out that it was sort of a semi-known vulnerability that was used and known by Apple, and they did not patch it. Are they legally liable?
I don't know about legally, but ethically, most certainly.
Possibly legally liable if it can be proven that Apple knew about the vulnerability and deliberately chose not to do anything about it. Other than that, no. Other than that, it's just a case of throwing up their hands and going, "My bad, we sorry."
Yeah. And can you imagine, though, the complexity of patching something like iCloud? iCloud itself is a huge conglomeration of services, and like, there's a lot of moving parts to that. I don't know if even it would have been reasonable to ask them to patch this in any kind of small amount of time.
You know, the problem is they have patched it. So clearly it was doable.
Oh, yeah. Or somebody knew about it and then just, it was scheduled. It was slated for a release down the road, and then this happens. So who knows?
Yeah, Apple actually released a written statement, and they did say that it was, quote, "a very targeted attack on usernames, passwords, and security questions, practice that has become all too common on the internet." So yeah, it was iCloud.
Yeah.
So the question now is was there a vulnerability that was used that Apple knew about, and if they did know about it, are they liable for any civil action?
Probably not, because I'm very sure that in their million-page legalese terms of service that you actually sign up for before you upload anything up there, it probably very clearly states out that they're not responsible for any loss or damage due to hacking or anything like that.
Okay, while we're on the subject of servers and the internet, Microsoft has been battling the DOJ over some servers in Ireland.
Good.
And access to the data, email data that's on those servers. They got a bad decision from one judge. They are now appealing it. Do you think that they have a leg to stand on when they say, no, you cannot have this information?
They have every leg to stand on. And the reason being, and the most simple reason being, I can't even believe this is going forward, is because the US has trade and data agreements, Europe, which specifically outline and prohibit the transfer of Europeans' data to the US. And there's all sort of guidelines and stuff involved in that. And for them to even be trying to do that is a major sort of slap in the face in that respect. And I can only see that a higher court will strike it down when they take in things like the treaties and stuff into consideration, stuff that is legally binding. It's not just about what the DOJ wants to do with Microsoft. Microsoft is not a company that just operates in the US. Microsoft has subsidiaries in other countries. They're each and every one is individually a company of its own, even if it is a subsidiary. And they are all subject to different laws. Just like, for example, an Irish company couldn't exactly sue Microsoft Ireland and turn around and tell them, you need to give us Americans' user data, because it wouldn't happen and it's not allowed legally. So do they have a leg to stand on? Yes, they have every leg to stand on. I think that the first judge that granted this was just a complete and utter asshat that didn't understand what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah, they probably view it as, oh, Microsoft's in America, therefore everything they own worldwide is technically American.
That's not how.
It just doesn't really fly.
It's not how.
Okay, well, how far should Microsoft battle this, given that
way?
They're the ones who can do it. If anybody can fight it, it's Microsoft.
They cannot cave on this. They cannot cave on this. Because if they cave on this, no user's data anywhere in the world will be safe if there's any kind of an American company involved.
Okay,
Which means, look, we're already seeing it in terms of, tech companies that are losing market share, have lost trust, lost major contracts because of, alleged NSA hacking and interference with stuff and so on and so forth. If user data is now just automatically going to be subject to, you use a Microsoft servers, therefore all your information is available to the US government, none of those companies are going to have any market share anywhere very, very rapidly, because as much as we don't like to think it in the US, there are actually alternatives to pretty much everything out there.
Yeah.
Not you.
Okay, sticking with Microsoft, and then we'll end off with this one. Windows 9, supposedly coming, preview version this month, September.
Cool. Yay.
Yeah, that's about it.
But nothing to talk about. I think we talked about this last episode, and I just said their release cycle is not quick enough, and they just need to take a firmer stand on what they're doing with things and stop backing down.
Yeah, release Windows 8.2 instead of this shit, and give people options as to how they want to use their computer. That's it. That's all I got to say about that. This is a dead horse. Windows 8, Windows 9 is such a dead horse. Dude, it's so dead.
Talk about this too much. How did this stay in the show notes?
I don't know. But so let's end off with some fun geek stuff. What have you been doing this past week, David? Anything of interest? Anything fun?
No, working and gaming. Although I have now officially a favorite beer.
Oh?
And yes, Bell's Two-Hearted Ale is my pick this week. Bell's Two-Hearted Ale is the most delicious IPA I've ever had in my life.
Is that a Doctor Who reference?
Oh. You say that last... Actually, which reminds me, I might have picked this previously. So, in which case, this might be my double pick. I don't know if it's a Doctor Who reference. I wouldn't put it past them. It's a bunch of young guys up in Michigan brewing this stuff, so it's definitely possible.
And Paul, other than Doctor Who, anything cool, interesting, anything you've been doing?
I've just been working, man, and not getting much sleep because the young fella decided, no, we're not. I'm just going to not sleep anymore, ever in the history of everness. Just, I don't know, just working, not sleeping, and looking after my wife, who's currently going through that part of her pregnancy wherein she's always wrecked, tired.
Yeah, I've got not so fond of memories of when that happened. Anyway, all I've been doing is working, same as you. Worked on a few, on my sites and contract work. But other than that, gaming, I picked up. What was I gaming?
How do we even... Have you played The Sims yet? The new Sims?
No, and I've got absolutely zero interest in it. I don't have any interest in The Sims whatsoever. I'm just trying to remember. Oh, I've been playing a little Diablo. How do you like the new patch?
I actually, I'm after this podcast gonna try it out for the first time. I was in Denver over the holiday or over what was it, last weekend, whatever. So anyway, I missed the Diablo run. So I don't know. These new rifts look awesome, and the guy that I was going to play it with, Sav, is super excited about it and has been playing the ever-living shit out of Diablo since, which is about as good of a recommendation as you can give.
I've been playing Grim Dawn. That was the other one. And if you're a Diablo fan, isometric, top-down, slash and hack type gamer, Grim Dawn is actually, I think, could give Diablo some run for its money. I really do. It's damn good. I'm really, and it's only an alpha. It's early release. I know, early release, but what can you say? But okay, on that note, we will call the show to an end for another week. Paul can go home to his lovely wife. David can head off to some Diablo fun, and I'll just I'll find something to do to occupy my time. Any last words, Paul, for the folks?
Just keep your hands above the table.
Good advice, David.
No, nothing.
You're going under the table, right? Okay, we'll leave it at that. Good night, folks. Take care, and remember, keep it geek. You have been listening to the Geek Dimensions On-Air podcast with Stephen Hodson, Paulo Flaherty, and David Gall. You can send any feedback about this or any of our other episodes to feedback@geekdimensions.com or by leaving a comment on the post. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus as Geek Dimensions. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Blueberry, and podcastpedia.org, or you can use our RSS feed for the show. The music used in the show is Metro by Sleep Thief. The On-Air podcast is the official podcast of Geek Dimensions and everyone living a geek's life.